Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chapter 10 Caring About Culture and Diversity. In this chapter, we are discussing about why it is absolutely necessary to understand the culture, the religion, and the diversity of our clients. We, as a personal support worker, we have to have those cultural competencies, meaning we must have to know the culture of our clients, different culture. The knowledge about different culture makes us a true professional in the Canadian healthcare setting. Let's discuss about some words related with our culture and diversity. Let's begin. What is diversity itself? Diversity is a state of different individuals and cultures coexisting together. Fundamentally, the Canadian society is a multicultural and diverse. People having different background, they live here together in the same community, and the prime duty of all we healthcare worker, the support worker, the nurses, and other healthcare workers is to provide culturally appropriate care to all our clients, no matter what culture they belong to, no matter what religion they belong to, no matter what geographical background or their back home country's background is there. It does not matter at all. What matters is our professionalism, our scope of practice, and how we free ourselves from the cultural biasness and cultural prejudices. So, living in the diverse cultural society, we have to understand others' cultures as well. This is what is all about the diversity. Now, let's go to another terminology, ethnicity. What do you mean by ethnicity? Ethnicity refers to a group of people who share a common history, a common language, common geography, national origin, even religion, which is very important, or identity. Like basically what people say like African background, the Canadian with the African background, Canadian with the South Asian backgrounds, Canadian with Asian background, European background, and so on. There are so many ethnic, the origin of people who live in Canada now, and we are working with those group of people. Now let's go to another word which is very important. It's culture. What do you mean by culture? Culture refers to the characteristics of a group of people, the language, the value, belief, habit, way of life implied, rules of behavior, music, and tradition. Culture is even broader than religion. In the same culture, so many religious background people can live. For example, we live in the mainstream Canadian culture where so many religious background, so many linguistic background, so many geographical background and origin of our nations or our back home countries background. So many backgrounds are there, but we live in a Canadian culture, which is the mainstream Canadian culture. Still, we have our own culture. So the point here is we have to practice our culture. We have to know our culture and we have to know others' culture as well. Those others means those others our client. If we work with the people who have a different cultural background, still we have to provide them culturally their culturally appropriate care, not our culturally appropriate care, their culturally appropriate care. So, this culture, so knowing about the culture is very important for every healthcare worker, including we, the personal support workers. And the point is, everyone has a culture. No matter who we are, who they are, everybody has a culture, and we have to respect everybody's culture. Let's go to the next word, prejudice. What is prejudice? Prejudice is an attitude towards or an opinion of a person based upon the person's membership, the person's belongingness to a particular group, in a group. Prejudice. And there may be so many prejudice because of the difference in culture, difference in origin, difference in geographical location, difference in religion, difference in ethnicity. There may be so many prejudice. It is the attitude of person or opinion of person. Because of the attitude and opinion of the person, of the healthcare worker, the clients are being the victim of prejudice. Or sometimes even we healthcare worker are the victim of others' prejudice. Therefore, this is a very negative terminology. Still, we have to understand and we have to free ourselves from any kind of prejudice. Biasness, another word is here, biasness. Biasness occurs when a person is unable to impartially judge the issues at the hand because of the performed point of view. This is called biasness. It is a person's inability to impartially judge. When the person judges something in terms of what the person knows, that is called biasness. This is the person who makes the judgment. He has the prior knowledge to dominate other, discriminate other, to dehumanize other. These all are the biasness. And another is stereotyping. Stereotyping is being judgmental on others. Stereotyping is an overly simple view of a group of people. For example of stereotyping is like elderly people are always, let's say, they are always uh, yelling at the PSWs, the personal support worker. That is stereotyping. We cannot make those stereotypes because it generalizes. All elderly people are not yelling at personal support worker. They are very nice. They are very decent in the manner, and they are very decent in the language they speak. We do not generalize people. If we generalize, it will be stereotyping. It's like all people from Southeast Asia, they are short in their body size. It's a stereotyping. It's not the truth. Similarly, there are other terminologies like racism, sexism, and ageism. Racism is in terms of the race. People are biased, they show prejudice to others, they stereotype in terms of the race they belong to. Sexism is because of their sexual orientation, they are biased, like women are weaker than men. That's a sexism, a type of sexist type of comment. And ageism is showing the biasness, showing the prejudice to other people in terms of the age they belong to. For example, people in their 60s are very lazy. That's ageism. We are specifically attacking the people of that particular age group. That's not good. In healthcare sector, no prejudice, no biasness, no stereotyping, no racism, no sexism, and no ageism exist. If it remains there, it will be very bad for everybody. So there are other prejudices, homophobia. There is another prejudices, transgender, people with a different gender, LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, and queer community. It's a new way of life. People are claiming of their different rights in the community. They have the different organization. They are making rallies in the cities. You know that LGBTQ's community. So even if what we are gender blind. We don't care about what the person's gender is. What we care is we care about human beings. After all, they are human beings. Then they need their respect. We are there to help them, assist them, and this is what we have to do. Cultural conflict. Because of the two culture and multicultural, there may be certain type of conflict between the culture. One person belonging to one culture may not like the person belonging to another culture, may be biased and show some cultural prejudice. That's very bad in healthcare sector. No, any other sector it should not exist. Cultural conflict occurs when a person tries to dictate to another person. Try to dictate. Why people dictate other? Try to dictate other person. What is his culture should be. An individual living with a different culture at the same time can also have the feelings of cultural conflict. An individual living with a different culture. This is how we have to know. We belong to one culture, our client belong to another culture. If we have a cultural conflict, we are unable to provide them safe care, we are unable to provide them complete care, quality care, and we are unable to express our empathy, and sometime we may have to we will be in the position of just showing this sympathy in the place. Instead of empathy we will show the sympathy. Sympathy is not good in healthcare field, because sympathy is only about stereotyping other people, being judgmental to other people, which is not good. Instead of sympathy we have to express empathy. Cultural competence. This is the most important aspect, cultural competence. What is cultural competence? Cultural competence basically means knowing about different culture, having the knowledge about different culture, and ability of a healthcare worker to provide the culturally appropriate care to the client, no matter who are they and where they live. Cultural competence is the ability of a person to interact effectively. If we are able to interact effectively with other culture, with the people from different culture, we are supposed to have the cultural competencies. Cultural competency, in the simpler word, is the knowledge about other social economic background, their individual longing to their cultures and their thought process. In healthcare, it includes the ability to deliver care that is respectful and responsive to the health belief, practices, and linguistic language need of the client. So in healthcare, we may be seeing the people of different linguistic background, means they speak different language, we speak different language. Still, they deserve the respect, and we are here to pay them respect. And that is the respectful, and we have to be very much responsive to our job. We have to show the respect. We have to be respectful to the people we work, and this is our health belief and practices. And even the people who speak different language, their linguistic background may be different, we have to respect them and we have to provide the need of the clients. This is what is all about the cultural competence. This is very important, because whenever you go to work as a personal support worker, you may find the person who belongs to the different culture. And what do you do at that time? If you know their culture, you will prepare the food they love to eat. You will speak in the way they like to do that. So, if you are not culturally competent, if you are culturally incompetent, you fail to provide the quality care, and which is not good in the professional life. Important to understand that not everybody from a particular culture demonstrates identical health practices. So, this is another most important point. Not everybody from a particular culture they demonstrate identical health practices. They may have a different style of expression of their health care, health practices. They may be talking you in a different ways than you talk. So, therefore, we have to know their culture and we have to digest their culture. This is the professional need to be culturally competent. Effect of culture. What are the effect of culture in expressing the healthcare issues? Culture affects how a person deals with the daily situation and problem. In certain culture, people are straightforward. They ask for the support they see in the eyes while talking. In certain culture, we cannot see in the person's eyes while talking, because seeing person's eyes becomes very much disrespect. And but in some culture, if we speak to the person without looking at the person, it is again considered very, very disrespectful, and it is the sign of dishonesty. That's why it is not the true or false, it is only the culture, how they define in the culture, how the culture has accepted those certain norms and values. That's why we need to know the culture. And healthcare area, the effect of culture is so much big. So, in terms of communication, there is a effect of culture. In terms of family and social organization, there is a effect of culture. Some culture they are open in the communication. In some culture they are closed in communication. They are not very open in communication. In the family structure and social organization, some people they love to uh, uh, practice the diversities in their culture, and some in some culture they do not. Uh, they only like to be in touch with the same people like they are. Religion and worship, different religious belief have their own values, their own worship place. Like major religions in the world, they go to their own worship place, their temple, church, mosques, and other places. Healthcare practices and reaction to illness. It also, the effect of the culture also lies in the healthcare practices. In certain culture, people they don't want to say they have these problems, because they say that because they did so many mistakes in their past life. That's why they are ill, they are suffering in this life. They think in that way. This is how culture affects, effect of culture in the healthcare. Culture and family. So certain culture, it determines what are the family shape and size, what big family they live in, something like this. Culture affects family structure. How big is the family? Culture affects. What is the role of the family, the head of the family, the father or mother? What role they should play? It determines by the culture. And the responsibility. Care of relatives, how they care their relatives. Even the grandparents, they are living together. The uncle and aunts, they live together in the same family. So it depends on what culture we are there to provide the health care. In some cultures, adult children are expected to care for their older parents. In some culture, adult children are expected to look after their older parents, because older parents they don't want to go to the long-term care home. They want to stay in their own home, and their children are already older, and they want their older children to look after them. And there is a sandwich generation. The older children they have their own kids on the one hand, and they have the responsibilities to look after their older parents. Now we go to the family. What are the types of family we need to know? There's a nuclear family, just the husband and wife. Single parent family, single single father or single mother looking after a couple of kids or one kid. Blended family, it's the extended family. In the same family, the grandparents, the uncle and aunt, they live together. That's a very big family. And same-sex family, nowadays people have a new style of generating new type of family, which is same-sex marriage, and that's why it is a same-sex family. Now we go to the culture and religion. Which do you think is a bigger thing? Both are equally important for people. Everybody has a culture and everybody has a religion. Religion may promote beliefs and practices related to the daily living habits. All the religions, the goal of the religion is to teach people the discipline, the daily living, good habits, behavior, good behaviors, relationship with others, how to establish a good relationship with other people, friends and family, what are the good food, healthy, nutritious food for our life, how to heal, what is the healing process when they have an injury, what is the healing process, or what they believe as a healing process. Days of worship, there are typical days of worship, like Fridays are always holidays to go to the mosque or church, and Mondays are holidays to go to the temple, something like that. Birth and birth control, certain religion does not allow people to follow the family planning procedures. Some medicines and death, when people take some medicine, certain people they take other medicine, supplement medicine and herbal medicine, natural medicine. They don't take the medicine as such as we take. And death, when people have finish their worldly life, they die. There are so many rituals, death rituals. When we, personal support worker, we work in the end life stage type of care, which we call the palliative care. We will see so many people coming to see the dead bodies. The loved ones are surrounded around the person. Before they die, they want to see, at least they want to say bye to their loved one. And what type of ritualistic activities they perform to the dead body, we can see so many things in the healthcare facilities. It does not matter what culture or religion our client belong to or we belong to, because every culture and religion they have positive thing to teach us. They teach us discipline. They teach us how to live in the society in a harmonious way, how to realize the coexistence of the diverse Canadian communities. We have to be very much flexible and multicultural and the lover of the diversities, because this is our reality. We cannot get rid of this. Respect to a client's religious symbol and belief. As a personal support worker, as a healthcare worker, this is our prime duty to respect the client's belief, client's value system. Client may have visit from the spiritual leaders. In some religion, in some culture and some religion, when people fall sick, they bring their they bring their spiritual leaders, and the spiritual leaders they are giving some advice for them and what to do before they leave this worldly life, and what to do after that, how they can attain the heaven, something like this. They will be discussing with the spiritual leaders, and we have to support the client, we have to support the family about those activities. Some cultures have belief about what causes and cures illness. Some culture, as we already discussed, some culture has a belief that what causes and cures illness, because of the sin people committed in their past life, they are sick in this present life. They think in that way. Still, that may be, that concept may be wrong or right. We are not there to judge it, but we are here to help them. We have to show the empathy. We have to put ourselves in their shoes. We have to see the situation from their eyes, not from our eyes. If we started seeing the reality from our eyes, what will be the result? It will be biasness. It will be prejudice. Therefore, empathy is most important part of of healthcare worker, and we have to know it. Culture and religion continues. Religion relates to the spiritual beliefs, need and practices. Every religion they have a spiritual belief. They believe in certain spiritual power, and they want to join that spiritual power. They want to achieve that spiritual power after death. Ultimately, they need to go with that spiritual power, achieve that, and needs and the practices. To achieve those spiritual power after the death, people are expected to practice certain activities during their lifetime, and we have to We have to accept this reality. We have to respect this reality. A client's religion influences health and illness. It is definitely the client's religion influences the client's health and illness, how they practice it, how they think, their thought process, because we are the product of our culture and we are very much influenced by our religion. A client may not follow all beliefs and practices of his or her religion. Sometimes the client, it is not necessary that a client is there who must follow the practices of his or her religion. They may not follow that, but still they believe in spiritual ideas. Therefore, spiritual ideas are not always religion. All religions have the spiritual belief, but all spiritual beliefs are not always religion. It is very difficult concept. Culture and perception of healthcare and wellness. Because of the culture and religion, we have a different perception. Perception means what we perceive, what we know, what knowledge we get. That's the perception, the impression of the reality of healthcare and illness. People in some culture believe that supernatural forces causes illness, like the devils from the hell are throwing the illness, the viruses to the earth. Some people believe that. But we are here not to make judgment of what they believe, what our client believe, but we have to just provide them care, accepting what they believe. That's the culturally appropriate care. If we start discussing about their culture and making them aware of if we are starting to teach them about what should be the culture, what should be done and what should not be done, we will fail to provide culturally competent care. It's not our duty to teach the culture and religion to our client, but our duty is to support them. They are in need of support. We have to support them as per needed. We have to follow the care plan. We have to ask the nurses and support the client as per needed. People use charms, rituals, alternative medicines, and traditional folk medicines, which may include ancient remedies passed down from generation to generation. Especially in the people in the Chinese culture and people in the Roman culture, Greek culture, even Hindu culture, they have so many ancient remedies. They are passed from one generation to another generation, and they believe in the different rituals and they believe in the different activities of their healthcare and illness. They believe so many things of their own. Some practices may interfere with the client's medical treatment. When they practice certain things like alternative medicine, when they take the alternative medicine, they interfere with the client's medical treatment, which is going on at present time. The medical treatment is going on, but the client also believes in the traditional folk medicine. In the folk medicine, they are taking certain natural herbal medication, something like those medication that may interfere, that may impair the present treatment process at this time. Therefore, herbal medicine may interact with the drugs. Therefore, if our client is taking herbal medication with other drug, we have to report to the nurse and we have to tell the nurse that my client is taking herbal medication. We have to clarify with our clients. Similarly, translator and interpreters. When our client does not speak English language and we cannot speak their language, there is a problem in communication. And sometimes we can solve the problem by using non-verbal cues and non-verbal ways of communication, showing them the picture, studying their facial and physical gesture and posture. But still, in the time of verbal communication, when we don't understand the client's language and the client doesn't speak the English language, there are the facility of a translator and interpreters. Some client may speak languages or the dialects from different from your own. As a support worker, we may feel difficulty in providing the care. At that time, we can take help from the translator and interpreters. Other may be deaf or hard of hearing. Some people may have a difficulty in hearing and hard of hearing. In that situation, also people use sign language, and sign language is a certification. It's an academic course. We can read the sign language to talk with the deaf people as well. May work with an interpreter. We may have to work with the interpreter. Interpreter understands the client's language and translate the client's language into English language or the language we understand, our standard language, either the French or English language in Canada. Some areas may also have paid translator available. In some, basically in the hospital setting, there are jobs for the translator. Then many translators are there in the hospital setting in terms of the need for the client's proper treatment process. And respecting the diversity box, communicating with the client who speaks a language different from your own. It's page number 156. Let's go to page number 156. So in page number 56, it says, even if you don't understand the client's language, if a client speaks different language from your own, then still we have to convey the comfort to the client by the soft tone of voice and body language. We cannot demonstrate any jerky type of body language. That will be a um, big mistake, and it's a big unprofessional way of showing the body language. Do not speak very loudly or shout or yell at the client. It will not help the client understand English. If you yell at the client doesn't speak English. That's why you speak in a soft tone of voice and speak slowly. Speak slowly and distinctly, so that client at least should guess what you are talking about. Keep message short and simple. Do not speak very lengthy sentence. People will get confused. Even if they understand your language, your English language, they will get confused. Speak slowly, in a soft tone of voice and clear, short, simple sentences. Be alert to identify the words the client seems to understand. If you feel the client is understanding some word, try to repeat it. Try to get something out of that. Use gesture and pictures to convey your message. If the client doesn't understand at all, just use the pictures and the gesture to understand that. Repeat the message in the different ways so that it would be easy for the client to know some part of it, if not the complete understanding. Similarly, avoid using technical terms, abbreviation, and the slang, because elder population, they are not very good in processing the message in the mind. Therefore, don't use the slang and abbreviation. They do not understand our abbreviation. Be certain that the client understands what is going to be done and consent it before you begin a procedure. You have to take the permission. It is called informed consent. And the nurses and doctors will be working on different procedure informed consent. But before you touch the client, just ask the client you are touching him or her. You, for example, nodding or answering yes to all questions are signs that the client may not really understand what you are saying. If the client begins to say yes, yes, only the client says yes, then client doesn't understand anything at all. Because the yes is only the word, the client sometimes feels that he or she is communicating by telling yes, but that S doesn't have anything to do. Learn a new useful phrases in the client's language. Keywords such as toilet, pain, cold, hungry can assist you communicate more easily with the client. You try to learn some of the words of the client's language. That will help you a lot to understand and communicate at least for the quality care. Now we are coming here, caring the practice and culture, caring practice and culture. How do you approach and communicate with someone may be affected by their cultural background? When people are affected by their cultural background, how do you approach the person? Body language. Let me repeat the question. How you approach and communicate with someone may be affected by their cultural background. Body language. How is body language? What type of body language you have to demonstrate? Touch. Do you touch the client before you getting the consent? Never ever touch the client. Before you touch, while providing the care, you can touch the client. Even while providing the care, you have to ask permission from the client. When the client gives you permission, then only you can touch. Otherwise, client has the right to refuse your touch. You cannot touch anybody. And your body language should be very calm and respectful. If you show the jerky body language, you nobody will um, trust you. It's a very big problem. And personal space. Do not go very close to the person. In every culture, people want to maintain a personal space. Personal space sometimes goes like 1 meter. You cannot go near the face of the person and speak there. You have to maintain the personal space and understand in their culture what is the personal space they practice. After you are culturally competent about the personal space, you can go. Eye contact. In some culture, if you see the person's eye, it is considered very much disrespectful. In other cultures, if you talk with the person without looking at the eyes, it is very dishonesty. Therefore, be careful in eye contact. Facial expression. Certain culture, twisting the facial muscle while talking would be considered very disrespectful. You have to speak in a quiet way. That's how the people respect their culture. Therefore, we have to know in my client's culture what is the facial expression. You cannot make face and do the facial expression any 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 style you like, because it's not what you like, it's what the client like. It's the client's culture, what is appropriate in the client's culture. That's how we have to focus. Silence. Sometimes silence is very powerful, and silence gives more meaning than the verbal language. For example, when somebody has passed away, you don't have to speak too much there. You just keep the silence. All people are in the silent mood. They are not expressing anything. That's why you go there and be a part of the group and be keep quiet and remain in silence. Because when you are silent with other family members, you are showing the respect to them. If they are in silence and you are talking a lot, that's not a good respect. Culture and communication. In the culture and communication, the body language expressed through the gesture, posture, and facial expression, your body language reveals that how culturally competent you are. Touch can convey the comfort. You can touch in certain places only when you are giving care, not all the time. If you see someone on the roadside, do not touch. That's a that's considered assault or sexual harassment. You can touch the person after getting the consent or permission and while providing care. Care, love, and affection. Not all cultures are comfortable with touch. This is how I mean to say you. Not all culture they are comfortable with the touch. You have to ask the client, if I touch you here, is that okay? You have to ask. You have to verify. You have to clarify if you are okay to touch or not. Personal space refer to the space immediately around the one's body. You have to maintain the personal space as we already discussed about it. Some people prefer more personal space than other. Some people have a different cultural competency, their own culture they practice, and they need a more distance. Even there with their family member, they maintain the distance. They don't go very near, very close proximity. is disrespect for them. And cultural and communication, eye contact has a different meaning within a different culture. As we discuss about, in some culture, if you see in the person's eye, it will be disrespectful. In other cultures like Canadian cultures, in mainstream Canadian culture, if you talk with somebody without looking at the person's face, you are dishonest person, you are telling lie. There it is considered. That's why it's not true or false to see the eye contact, but it's only what culture, how, which culture we are behaving with. That's what is the most important things. Facial expression, some expression are universal, like smile. If you smile while talking, it is universal. In every culture, smiling face is accepted. Some culture use fewer facial expression. In some culture, facial expression is considered not decent way. Silence. The use of silence varies among cultures. Some culture has a silence, some culture doesn't practice silence, they are talkative. Like I gave the example earlier, if you practice the silence according to the situation, it is very great idea in healthcare. For example, you are maintaining the silence with the family member who have lost their loved ones. And this is the ending part of our class today, and this is a culturally sensitive care, or you can say culturally appropriate care. Never use stereotypes. See, it means being judgmental. Do not be judgmental of others' culture. Do not try to teach other people their culture or stereotypes to judge your client. Prejudice is frequently leads to discrimination. If you prejudice other people, it is a discrimination. Recall the principle of DIPS. What does D stand for? D is what is D stands for? D means dignity. I means independence. P is preference. Another P is privacy. And S stands for safety. DIPPS, this is a principle. This is the principle we have to follow. Dignity of our client we have to protect. We have to give them dignity. They deserve the respect, and that's what is the dignity. I means it is their independence. We have to increase their independence. We have to assist them. We have to help them to increase their independence. P is preference. Preference means their choice, what they want to eat today, what they want to wear today, where they want to go today, where they want to, whether they want to stay on the bed or they want to transfer themselves in the wheelchair. We have to follow their preferences, follow their choice. And this is the privacy. They need privacy. Everybody needs privacy. We have to maintain, we have to respect their privacy. While providing care, we have to maintain their privacy. Privacy is very important in everybody's life. And safety is always the safety first. Because of the lack of safety, people fall from the bed, fall from the wheelchair, they have an injury in the backbone, in the head, they may have other more complicated situation because of the fall. Safety is a very broad term. Safety is not only the fall. Safety is safety from the nutrition, safety because of the medication, because of the providing day-to-day care activities of daily living, and so many things. Everywhere safety is connected. Some clients react negatively or fearfully to cultural differences. Some client, if they see a PSW who belongs to different culture, they may be fear, they may be expressing themselves as a fearful or negatively in when they see the cultural differences. We have to understand their idea and we have to try to support them. You do not have to agree, but you must be tolerant and make the and not make the judgment. You don't have to agree. We are not there to agree. We are not there to follow their culture, follow their religion, but we are there to respect their culture and respect their religion. This is called culturally sensitive care. And thank you for your patience to hear this, to listen this lecture. I sincerely request you to go through the textbook and the lecture together and understand more. Please email me if you had anything to ask. Thank you. Have a good day.